Alright guys, good morning. This is Tasha from Scruffy Fam. We are doing a garden tour today, and you guys are with me on a very rare early morning. I am not a morning person by any means. However, apparently this is part of my nesting, is getting out and taking care of our garden. So here I am at 6:30 in the morning, and I'm not usually awake, much less dressed and outside by now, but here we are. And it's actually supposed to be 92 degrees today, and so I couldn't just let the garden go without getting watered. That's pretty brutal. We do the deep watering method, so I water probably like once a week unless we get a pretty decent rain, which we did last week. So I actually haven't watered, I don't think, in 2 weeks, a week and a half, something like that. And as you'll see, all the plants are doing just fine. They're doing great. They have really deep roots so that they can go look for the water that's still down in the ground. And I also have some other things that I want to show you guys, so let's get going. Okay, so we'll get to the actual tour in a second here, but first I want to show you what I'm using to water my garden. So I have 2 of these jars, and these are basically fermented banana peels. I already took the actual like peel pieces out and just threw them away. So banana peels are awesome for any producing fruiting plants. Tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, blueberries, our elderberry even. Although I don't think I'm going to use this on elderberry now because they're still focusing on root development. However, next year they will also get this same, it's kind of like a fertilizer. But it's really awesome because it's high in potassium and phosphorus, but it doesn't have a lot of nitrogen. So what it does is it gives the plants everything that they need to produce fruit without adding anything that's just going to grow a whole bunch of leaves. So that's why it's perfect for any of those like fruiting plants. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pour some of this around the root area of my tomatoes and my peppers. I'm not going to do my cucumbers because, as you'll see when we do the actual right and proper tour, and we are kind of already overwhelmed with cucumbers, so honestly they do not need any help. However, our tomatoes, we have yet to actually, we've harvested a few of the cherries, but we have yet to actually harvest any of the slicer tomatoes. And the peppers are really just getting started producing, so we really want to support those guys so that we can get a good harvest out of them. So that's what I'm going to do next. And it's really that simple. I am going to do this first. I'm coming out here and putting the banana water on these guys, and then I'm going to go start on the other side of the house and start my normal deep watering routine. And I'm doing that so that this really gets a chance to start soaking in. And then I'm going to come behind it and water the rest of the way down with just normal water. One of the things that I've heard people run into with using the banana peel water is that critters will come and try to dig up your plant because they smell the banana. So I'm hoping that by deep watering after applying this, that it'll push those nutrients down and kind of dilute anything on the top to avoid any critter interest. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the plants, and then we'll get started on the actual proper tour. So one of the things that I forgot to tell you is how to actually make said banana water. So it's super easy actually. You just get bananas, eat the banana part, fruit, and it's probably ideal if you did organic bananas. I don't normally advocate for those because you don't eat the peel. However, in this case we are using the peel as a garden amendment, so if you're going to garden organically, I would recommend getting organic bananas. And you literally just drop the peel in a mason jar and fill it up with water and let it sit on your countertop for 3 to 5 days. Now honestly, Ours sat a lot longer, so they were pretty falling apart, and it was pretty potent. It definitely has like a fermented smell, but there wasn't any mold on it, so I'm still confident in using it for our garden. But yeah, it's super easy to do, guys. Definitely give it a try. All right, so first off, I guess I'll show you real life. This is our raspberry patch, which, as you can see, looking pretty sad. We really didn't know how to prune these guys at the beginning of the spring. And I'm not entirely sure what has gone wrong with them. However, we are going to hack all of this back down to like 6 inches from the ground level this fall, and then come springtime they will just regrow completely new plants. All right, so here's our first elderberry. This one is the Bob Gordon variety, and it is doing really well, actually. We've been keeping this area weeded because this is where we went through and tore out a whole bunch of perennials, and as you can see, we're kind of trying to kill off some of the weeds over here. We only have so many tarps, so I think we're just gonna have to do cardboard for the rest of it or something. We'll figure that out. But anyway, yeah, so how we do the deep watering is, so just use a hose. We just got our rainwater collection barrel hooked back up, so hopefully in the future we'll be able to use that. But for now we're just using normal city water in a hose. So I have it set to shower, and then I kind of try to get down here underneath the foliage and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There we go. So that makes sure that the water gets down deep enough, and as you saw, I didn't put it all right at the base of the plant. I try to go around kind of wherever the foliage is. If you draw like a circle around the edge of the foliage, that's kind of the edge of the roots. That's an old tree trick. That's an old trick that they use with trees also. So by watering kind of away from the plant a little bit, encourages it to grow more roots and spread out and get an even stronger root system to support really hot days like we're gonna have today. This thing's covered in dew. All right, so let's move on and I will show you the other one. And I'll do just a really quick plug here. So the boys have been working really hard, Joe and Elijah both, on clearing out all of the plants that we had in here. Ignore my pots, they're sad. They need to get pulled out and replanted. But yeah, so this all was buried in stuff. We found that we have a cute little rock wall over here. And they haven't quite gotten down to the stuff over here or the stuff back there yet. But we're definitely making progress. So we have the big stuff pulled out at this point. It's going to be coming through and actually making sure that we have the roots and the bulbs for all of this pulled out. So essentially we're going to till this whole section here. And there's all kinds of stuff that we want to do, but we will show that later. Alright, so this is our other elderberry. This one is the ranch variety. And he is not doing or looking as good as the other one. I'm really not sure what this leaf curl is from, but I think, haven't been able to figure out if it is a fungal thing or a stress thing, or like it looks like it might be starting to get some powdery mildew. Of course, here I am touching it. So I think what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and clean off some shears and just take off this whole branch, because it's particularly this branch, which was one of the first ones that it grew. The new growth has looked much better. So I think we're gonna take that off and kind of just keep an eye on it. I might go get some powdery mildew copper treatment and use some of that just to make sure that's not what's going on. And ultimately in the fall, this guy will also get cut down to the bottom. So, you know, hopefully that will kind of stem any issues going on. All right, so this one here is our blueberry plant. This is the one that we originally got from Costco, and it's actually doing really well. Was kind of concerned because some of the new growth was coming in yellow, but as it gets older, it has been turning green. So I might get something in here to kind of just re-acidify the soil a little bit, but it's doing really well. So obviously no harvest this year. I made sure of that, but next year I'm really looking forward to having some fresh blueberries on our back patio. One thing I did want to show though is, so our cucumbers have gotten up high enough to where they're now starting to climb on the deck. And so up here, this is the guy that I have designated as the official seed cucumber. So we're letting him get big and huge, and he's probably getting pretty close. I know they turn really yellow and get kind of swollen when the seeds are ready, so I just want to make really sure that this guy's seeds are good, because this cucumber has done amazing in our yard. And also this thing is super impressive. So this is probably at least 10 feet tall, if not taller. This is a volunteer sunflower. The previous homeowners had a sunflower that grew around here, and it just kind of fell over when the frost came. And we have our first little sunflower head. That's been pretty cool to watch this thing grow. They are huge, my goodness. All right, so we will start here at the edge of our summer garden. This guy is our cherry tomato, and this is a really good example of what happens when you don't prune tomatoes. Now, obviously, we knew that tomato cage was not the best idea. However, funds were really tight, and that's what we had. So we're making do. Thankfully, you can see there's a couple strings up in here. We've kind of tied it up a little bit so that it's at least attached to the deck. But it is what it is. We've harvested a few, and we haven't had any ripen since then, but I think we've had a few critters come and steal them before we can, which is really annoying, but what are you gonna do? All right, and then right next to it, getting a little bit intertwined over here. And actually, I think, oh no, that's just another branch. Okay. So slightly intertwined, we've got our Cherokee purple tomato plant, which actually is coming along really well. So I was really worried about this guy because we got a cluster of fruit down here, which were all eaten by critters. I was so heartbroken. And then the rest of the plant had no tomatoes at all. However, the heat wave that we were in kind of cooled off. And so now you can see we've got some more here, and there's one there, and then there's some back there on a branch. So it is definitely forming more fruit, which is really exciting because I actually would like to eat one. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Yeah, and this guy also, as you can see, like I did really well pruning the bottom of both of these because I knew that I wanted them to stay off the ground and not get any of the blight or anything from the splashing off the ground. However, the rest of it went a little crazy. So again, next year we want to put an actual cattle panel on the back side of all of this, and that way that we can train everything up that, or build an actual trellis thing that has like a single lead for the tomatoes to go up. Haven't quite decided what we're going to do yet, but something along those lines, because obviously we know that tomato cages are not really the way to go. That's just what we had to work with. And it's worked okay so far. Not too bad. Oh, and by the way, this cage here, trying to keep stuff off the tomatoes, did absolutely nothing. So might as well just take it off. Okay, so next, you can see there's my seed cucumber up there. Oh, okay, I gotta take a breath. Oh, pregnant with twins is no joke, people. All right, so this is our cucumber patch. These are actually two separate plants. Underneath all that, they each have a tomato cage. And they just kind of, I didn't even realize that you can prune cucumbers. And so this is what we've ended up with. That's not too bad. I have had to pull them off of this tomato a few times, and we've tamed back the ground runners a few times. But overall, it's doing really well, which is one reason why, there's my seed cucumber over there. One reason why I want to save seeds is that there hasn't been any sickness. It's produced like crazy. We've got a drawer in the fridge completely full of cucumbers. And as you can see pretty easily, like there's even more. Here's a big guy. Oh, this must be the one that I missed. Yeah, there's even more that still need to get harvested today. And like the inside of the plant is starting to die back. The inside of the plant is starting to die back, but all the new growth is still super healthy and hanging in there. So we're just gonna let this guy, these guys, there's two of them, keep rocking and rolling. And next year we're definitely gonna do one of these plants. All right, so here we have our two Arctic Rose tomato plants. And these are two of the plants that I'm the most proud of back here, because I started both of these from seed. So obviously they're not as big. They are a determinate variety, so they're not going to get as big, but they're a few weeks behind because obviously I don't have a really good like grow light setup or anything. So I am super excited though, because they are absolutely covered in tomatoes. So this variety, like I said, it's Arctic Rose. So I got the seeds for this from Fruition Seeds, specifically designed to work really well here in the northern climates. So it's doing great. I'm really hoping that at least a few of these ripen before we start to get the really cool temperatures. And I'm also really hoping that they don't get stolen by critters. All right, so these are the other two that I'm the most proud of. They're just puny little things, but I'm still ridiculously happy with them. These are the ancho poblano peppers. You can see, I wasn't even sure they would make it, so I didn't even bother to put a cage around it. But let's see if I can. There's a little, got some little fruits growing. And some flower buds starting to show up on this guy. So these guys I also grew from seed, same as the Arctic Rose tomatoes. So like I said, they're pretty small, but they're starting to produce. And I think I might pull these guys inside for the winter and see if I can get them to come back next spring, and kind of give them a head start. But worst case, I know that they grow here. And this one Joe is ridiculously happy about. This is the jalapeno plant, which we were really concerned about for a while because it wasn't giving any fruit at all. But now, as you can see here, it is pretty covered. And there's even more flowers growing. So Joe's super happy. We're kind of hoping that these will ripen along with some of the tomatoes, and then we can do salsa with some of our onions, which would be really amazing. But we shall see. Either way, they were kind of slow to get started, but they have taken off. And this guy here is my pepper plant. So this is the Black Beauty bell pepper, which I'm expecting to not be quite as loaded with fruit just because the bell peppers get bigger. However, you can definitely see there are some flower buds, and I saw a flower somewhere. Oh, yep. Right. Yep, there's a flower. And I'm pretty sure something has eaten a few blossoms off of this because I know that there have been more, but there have not been fruit from them. So, who knows? But yeah, they're doing really well. They're getting nice and tall. They're actually starting to outgrow the pepper cage. So that's pretty exciting. And over here, still early in the morning, so the calendula hasn't opened up for the day yet. But as you can see, so this was, take out the so you can see part. So this variety was the Resina calendula from Fruition Seeds, and I accidentally left the entire seed packet out in the rain after I planted this, and so none of them stayed. So as you can see, there's a few of these, like this guy here, that I am specifically saving. Oh, that guy back there is almost ready to come in. He's starting to dry up. I'm specifically trying to save seeds from this, so some of the flowers, especially if they're not super big, I'm just kind of, at this point, letting go to seed. I have a lot of calendula, and I actually found a jar of calendula oil that I started last year. The life of a forgetful herbalist. However, I am curious. So you can see, these stems are just like absolutely infested with some sort of little red bug. They don't seem to bother the calendula. I mean, they're not eating it. They are just all over the place, and I'm wondering if it's because this is a more resinous calendula. The ants actually appear to be like farming them. So I'm really not sure what those are, but they make harvesting very unpleasant. And at this point, like, it's so covered that honestly, that's another reason why I'm only harvesting the big flowers, because I don't want to have to deal with all the little tiny bugs everywhere. It gets kind of annoying. Alright, so apparently as we were editing that video, realized that I totally forgot to close it out. So I hope you enjoyed our garden tour. So this was August 2020, and we're really excited to kind of start harvesting some of these things that we haven't been able to yet. Cucumbers are starting to wind down, and we will see what fall brings us. No fall garden this year. We had hoped to get some seeds in the ground, but with the twins coming so soon, it's not going to happen. So next we will be putting together a seed starting setup over the winter, and hopefully that will give us a really great start into the spring. Next year we can get those plants in the ground as soon as possible. So hope you're enjoying. Tomorrow we are officially starting 34 weeks, which is baby watch for twins, and we're pretty excited. My mom is coming out, I think in 2 weeks, next week. I lose track of time. I think in 2 weeks. So that'll be really fun to have her here to hang out with the kids and just help us out. And if you enjoy seeing what we're doing with our urban homestead, then definitely click the subscribe button, click the bell so you're notified. Share this video with anyone that you think might be interested, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks. Bye.